birthday event. We wanted to have a really great speaker, and having seen John talk before, knew he would inspire you all. So for the next 25-30 minutes, I'm going to hand over to John Dabrowski, who's going to talk to us about mental resilience. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, what a great warm-up for the day, and what a great location. Isn't it fantastic here? I set my business up about 5 years ago, and it was in a recession and had 0 clients. And I thought, no problem, I'll just get the old charm going and build a client list and have no problems at all. And it wasn't that easy. I suddenly found I couldn't get a single client, not one. And so I had to do something to pay the bills, because I've had an interesting life. You'll hear a bit about it today. I had no money, no savings, nothing. And so I had to do something. I decorated. I started decorating. And I found a painting job somewhere, did a bit of painting, and then I did a bit more painting, set up a little business called JD Painting. And for 2.5 years, I decorated. No one knew. I can talk about it now because it's 2.5 years ago. I was very quiet at that time. I was driving an old Ford Mondeo, and it was covered in paint, and I used to hide it and then walk to my meetings, to client meetings. I used to hire cars. I used to hire a car. It cost me a lot of money to hire a car just to go to one meeting and back again. I remember being in my overalls covered in paint, and I was taking a call, or making a call to a managing director of a company to set up a workshop, and I got it. I actually got the deal in my overalls covered in paint, painting a house. And so this is mental resilience. I had a dream. I had a dream I wouldn't let go. And the number of times I was so down and so wanting to give up was unbelievable. But I kept getting back up. I kept getting back up. I kept getting back up because I had a dream. I thought, if I just keep going, I can get there. And I wouldn't let go. And then 2.5 years ago, ironically, I had a real serious shoulder injury. I had to stop decorating. And then I had to put all my focus into the business. And I managed to just turn it around. And then ever since then, I've been building the business as it's been going. And like I mentioned before, I've done a little bit of travel abroad now. Dubai was the latest one 6 weeks ago. Had a dream 2.5 years ago. I set up something called a dream board or a vision board. It's from a thing called A Secret. And I believe in 2 things. One is the law of attraction. What you give out is what you get back. Very important. Sow and reap. That's what this is about today. And also visualizing something that you want to achieve in clear pictures as if you've already achieved it. I do it every morning. I did it this morning. I've got 26 things on this board I want to achieve. 26 of them. And one of them was Dubai. In fact, there were 3 of Dubai there. For 2.5 years, I had no money. I just dreamt. And then I was there 6 weeks ago, and I'm going again in 2 weeks' time. I've got one piece of business out there now, and so it's starting, which is quite amazing. And like I said, it wasn't like that. And I was born to Polish parents. And when I went to school for the first time, I had to stand up in English lesson and read, and I couldn't read. And I remember trying to read, and all I could hear was sniggers and laughter from the kids. So I'd sit down again. Then I'd stand up again, and I'd get sniggers and laughter. So this confidence was being destroyed really quickly. And then I had a situation where, at the age of 12, I was in senior school, and it was a boys' school, and they lined up everyone against the wall. And they picked out 4 boys to be captains. And those 4 boys stepped forward, turned round, and then one by one, they picked their favourite boys. And I was putting my hand up, pick me, pick me. But I'd grown really fast. I was over 6 foot tall at the age of 11. And I was like Bambi. I could hardly walk. I mean, it was a horrific situation. And so I was hoping that I couldn't speak very well, and I wasn't very well coordinated. And they knew that. And so one by one, these boys were going forward. And there's only a few boys left on the wall. And I thought, imagine being the last one. I wonder who that's going to be. Then I looked around again a few seconds later, and there was no one left. And it was me. And it was that, something broke in here, not being wanted. And I remember thinking, I never want to be in this situation again. So I was ill, injured, lost my kit, bunked off. I did everything to get out of it. But luckily for me, that year, my parents took me abroad to meet my uncle for the first time. And he was 6'9" tall, 6'9", giant of a man. And he played basketball for the Polish Army basketball team. And I've got this one memory of him. I'm looking up at him, he's talking to me, then he's shooting the ball, talking and shooting. And it lit a fire in here. He said some positive things in here, lit a fire in here. So when I got back, I begged my mum for a basketball, begged her. And eventually she bought me one after about 4 weeks. I started to practice and shoot and practice and shoot. And I did the best I could. And I remember going to see the best players in Nottingham. I was born and bred in Nottingham. And I was watching how they played. And my dad had the best garden in the entire street. It was a wonderful, beautiful garden. He was a great gardener. And I persuaded him to build a basketball ring in the garden. And within weeks, it was wiped out. The whole thing was wiped out. The garden, the flowers, the roses were destroyed. But he saw his son growing in confidence. And he let his passion go for me. And luckily for me, it was about 10 years ago, because he passed away 4 years ago. About 10 years ago, I said, thanks, Dad. And I got him, I grabbed him. I said, thank you for what you did. You sacrificed your beautiful passion for me. And it changed my life, because it allows me to do what I'm doing now, which is amazing. But I also went to see the Harlem Globetrotters. Do you remember them? Have you heard of them? Yeah, and I went to see them. They were fantastic. In fact, they've just been to Nottingham again, locally. And they could spin the ball on the finger. And I thought, if I can just spin the ball on the finger, if I can just spin it, nearly got it then I'd have a friend, maybe just one friend. But it was really hard. So I left that and I carried on working on the basketball, kept improving, kept getting better and better. And eventually, that's me there. White men can jump. Look at that. Look at them shorts. That's ridiculous. Them shorts. That's outrageous, isn't it? Yeah. But that was obviously good. So from being the last off the wall at the age of 12, by the age of 17, just 5 years later, with a mindset change, I was playing for England. Under 19 first, then full international, Commonwealth Games, then professional, had a wonderful career, all because of a mindset change with my uncle, one moment. I'm hoping that today, one or two of you will get a magic moment with something I say. I don't know what it'll be. There's some techniques I'm going to show you, some examples of things, and hopefully it'll just trigger something that will get you bouncing back up again quicker. Because a journey of running your own businesses or working for a company is hard. It's tough. And we have to keep bouncing back, bouncing back, bouncing back. And it's not very clear. On the back of my head, something called hair. Can you see that? Yeah, that's better. Look at that. Fantastic. I used to love that hair. I used to look after it. I used to look at comb it, wash it. And I miss that hair. I miss it. But I'm working on it. I'm in therapy once a week. Yeah.
Is it on the dream board?
Yeah. Yeah, it's growing back. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. There's a great basketball player called LeBron James. I think he's still the best basketball player in the world. He's the only player in the world that can shoot the ball from one end of the court all the way to the other. It's a remarkable feat. I'm going to show you a clip here where he's in training. There's a guy warming up on the camera, ready to say a few words. And in the background, you'll see the ball going to the net. Have a look what happens next. It's quite fascinating.
Later on, LeBron James is here. We'll have this, something like that. Let's just run through it. Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's sold out, actually. Can we just start like that? Whoa! Are you guys rolling on this? That's an 80-footer. That is amazing. Oh, my.
Look at his face. No, what? That was incredible. It never happened again. It will never happen again. He's tried that 100 times and he misses every time, so he doesn't do it in a game. And what it was is there was no pressure. It was in something called the zone, in flow or the zone. You'll have those moments where suddenly hours fly by and everything's flowing. And it's a fantastic feeling. That's what he was. And so one thing I spotted on this video, which is kind of interesting, is on here there's a guy sat. He's really fed up. He's really bored with the training session. And he's like this. And then he sees the ball go into the net. Have a look what happens to him in 12 seconds from being really fed up and bored to change of state. Watch this.
Later on, LeBron James is here. We'll have this, something like that. Let's just run through it. Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's sold out, actually. Can we just start like that? Whoa! Are you guys rolling on this? That's an 80-footer. That is amazing.
12 seconds from being fed up and bored to wide awake. I actually, every morning, read a bunch of motivation books, just a page of each one, to get myself into a positive state. And then I feel good for the day. If I don't do that, if I miss one, I never have quite the same day. It never quite works out. So I do that as a ritual almost, like a gym. It's like going to the gym, it's a mental gym. And I go through all these and I visualise my dreams and I get myself into that positive state, which seems to work really well. Mental resilience. What is mental resilience? I've got this. Disciplined, focused and determined state of mind under pressure situations. And it's only under pressure situations that you need mental resilience. You don't need mental resilience at weekends, on holiday, when you're relaxing. That's when the body rests and recovers. That's very important. You have to have those times. It's critically important that you rest and recover. The body recovers and recharges. But when you're under pressure, which is most of the time, we need mental resilience. And it's under pressure that's key. And I'm going to go through a few things today just to demonstrate a few techniques, I guess, and a few pointers for mental resilience. I worked for a radio station, one of my first jobs, as a sales rep. And I remember wanting to meet the best basketball player in the world. It's like Lionel Messi or Ronaldo of Real Madrid, the equivalent today. And he played for a team in Los Angeles, for the Los Angeles Lakers. Hands up here, any basketball fans? Oh, unusual, there's 3. Yes! I'm going to see you afterwards. It's fantastic, it's so rare. Brilliant. Don't say anything if you recognise the player. And I thought, what do I do? And I was learning mental resilience. I thought, I know what, I'll pick the phone up and phone them. So I phoned Los Angeles Lakers PR department. I said, look, I'm John Dabrowski and I work for this radio station. And they thought I worked for the BBC in London. And they gave me this VIP pass, all access areas for a week. I went on the bus with them, I trained with them. That's the changing room straight after a match. And I'm interviewing, I've just got a pretend recorder and I was just recording something. It was only pretend. But he was 6'8" tall. Sorry, still alive. He is 6'8" tall. He's got no shoes. You can see. Now, 3 basketball fans here. I guarantee 100% there'll be more than 3 people recognise the name of this player. You ready for this? More than 3. Watch this. Magic Johnson. Hands up if you've heard of Magic Johnson. Look at that. Usually about half the audience. Great. So it's just a legend, an absolute legend, and a great, great player. When I was there, I took a photograph with a cheap camera. There he is down there. But when you step out with mental resilience, exciting things start to happen. Little things, little moments, magic moments I call them. And I don't know if you can see from the back there, but on the top there it says, a Lakers form welcome to John Dabrowski, Metro FM. It's like the Barcelona scoreboard now, having my name on. And I never knew, so I took that shot really quick because I didn't see it coming. But I've got it now 30 years later, and I'm using it as I speak. It's fantastic. When I was there, the next game on, there was the best basketball talent coming up that was coming to play. And they said, look out for this guy, he's amazing. He'll be better than Magic Johnson. And the whole place was sold out. I couldn't get a seat. So they put me on the end court where there's like a table like these, and there was the Los Angeles Times, New York Times, and me with a camera. And I just on the end there, all I did was stand up and take shots of this player. This player scored 57 points. He dunked the ball, put the ball into the net 12 times. So every time he came up close, I was jumping up and taking the shots. And then I got home and I got those, in the old days, we used to get the rolls of film, take them into the chemist, wait a week and then go and pick them up, and then you bring them back. I was so excited, this big pile. And then I opened up, they're all blurred. I had a cheap camera. It's a really cheap camera, so there was nothing, so I had close-up shots. Every single one was blurred, every one, except for one. And to this day, no one can tell me why this one came out. But this is the shot. And there he is, he's in focus, the ball's in focus, he's in focus. It's incredible, incredible shot. And this player, you probably will recognise the name of this player, and I'll just put it up because he's pretty famous, Michael Jordan, the famous Michael Jordan. So in 4 days, I saw the 2 best players ever to play the game in history. Quite remarkable. He is a great player. When he played for Chicago Bulls, for 3 years in a row, they won the big playoffs in America, which means they're the best team in the world. Sadly, his father passed away. So he had to leave for 2 years. And he left for a couple of years to play golf and baseball. Didn't work out, so he came back. While he was away, they won nothing. He came back, they won 3 in a row again. One man, 6 titles, that's how good he was. But he's got an incredible philosophy on failure that I think is brilliant. Have a listen to this.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Failed over and over and over, that's why I succeed. What he means by that, of course, is that you've got to take a shot, you've got to take a risk. You may not succeed every time. He's happy to have a mistake, make a mistake or 2. He had the ball 26 times with 1 second to go, and he missed, and they lost the game. He doesn't talk about the 400 and something times he scored. So he said, look, you've got to miss occasionally, it's okay. So in business, it's okay to make a mistake. As long as you learn from it, and move on. That's a learning experience. That's really important. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and you move on. 5 mental resilience pillars. These are key. All high achievers have these. Number 1 is commitment. I'm committed to an 18-year plan. I'm 62 now. I'm committed to be speaking on stage at 80. I'm excited for it. I'm going for it. I will slow down, of course, as I get older, but I've got a plan. That's a commitment. I don't know if I'll be knocked down by a bus tomorrow. I can't control that. What I can control is my commitment. I'm also committed to sending an email this afternoon to Dubai as it happens. Small, tiny little email, but it's this equal commitment. What they say is commitment is like making a promise. You make a promise, you keep it. And high achievers make a promise, they keep it. So that's number 1. Number 2, motivation. Motivation, they have a motivation for what they do. Sometimes I find it a bit boring, I guess, making phone calls, chasing clients, all that sort of thing. A bit of paperwork, I've got someone working for me now, which helps. So I use my vision board, my dream board. And every morning I think, no, if I just do these calls, these pictures are going to start appearing in my life. My wife was on there, there's a couple of wedding rings, I'm now married. And it goes on, the things that have appeared already into my life because I've visualised them over and over. And I haven't got time to go into the science, but it's a fascinating thing. Number 3 is self-belief. They have an inner self-belief. And what I like about this, it's a quiet inner confidence and a deep down self-belief in themselves. They don't show off. It's not, look at me, aren't I great? It's that quiet inner confidence, which I think is wonderful. It's a lovely thing. Number 4 is control. Control of fear and anxiety. They manage to control that. And don't freak out, they just get on with it. But more importantly than that, every time they get hit with negative stuff, every day, you'll get every day phone calls, things going wrong, whatever it is, it's the way they respond. They respond really quickly and really well. I worked for a radio station, I was after this particular contract. 6 months I worked on it. If I got it, I would have hit my annual target. At the last minute, they switched to television. I was devastated, I lost it. Right at the last second, I was down in the dumps. I was down and out for 4 days. I was in late, moaning and groaning, fed up. I couldn't be bothered. And then I got a contract come on the 5th day. I was happy again. But I'd lost 4 days. Now with these mental resilience techniques that I coach and train, of course, is that last year I was after a big contract in Wales. And right at the last second, they said no. I was devastated. I was down. I was really down for 1 hour. I then stopped the pity party. I said, look, can I do anything about it? No. Can I change anything? No. What's the point of moaning and groaning? It'll just make me ill. Get the old ulcers and all that sort of stuff. So I stopped it. There's something called the black dot theory that I've got. I've developed this myself. That when you get some bad news, it's like a black dot. And the more you focus on that black dot, the bigger it gets. And eventually a whole day is black. And you can't get out of it. You're sick. You just give up and go home. But if you, in reality, when you look back in 5 years' time, that was a tiny little thing in your life. But at the time it was big. So what I say to everyone I coach and train is to force that down and then just for about 30 seconds, list all the things you're grateful for. I've got legs, I've got eyes, whatever it is, I've got a house, I've got a car. Do that for 30 seconds, you'll feel better and you'll keep it down. Because I say, if you can do something about something, do it. If you can't, don't think about it. Don't go there. If you can't change it, don't even think about it. Leave it. I couldn't pay my mortgage for 2.5 years decorating. Every single month, I had no idea how I was going to pay my mortgage. But I slept like a baby every single night, and I've done ever since. So I wouldn't think about it. I think that what I can do is paint a room. I can paint a room today, then another room, and by the end of it, I managed to pay the mortgage. So that's number 4. Number 5 is focus, laser-like focus. I had a lovely client in the Isle of Man who was a surgeon, and I was flying out there regularly, and I had lots of 10 minutes, half an hour plane delay, whatever it was. I loved those times because I used them so effectively. I'd have the long list of priorities, the important stuff, not just the urgent, and I'd tick them off and get them done. And that's what high achievers, they use the time so well that they can concertina their hours down and have more time in the evening to relax and then sleep well. That's really important. And that gives you peak performance. Who here knows the backstory of Dame Kelly Holmes? Not many do. It's on YouTube. It's out there. You can check it afterwards. When she was 33 years of age, a year before the 2004 Athens Olympics, she was getting ready to win her first gold. The best she'd done up to that point was a bronze. She was now 33, past her peak. It was over. But she said, no, I'm going to have one more chance. And then suddenly she got massive leg injuries and her partner left her. So she had emotional and physical damage and she packed up completely. And it was over. But 1 year later, she won a double gold. That's impossible. She was so bad that she was on heavy medication, suicide watch, and she was self-harming with knives, actually cutting herself in the legs and the arms. A year before she won a double gold. It's remarkable. But obviously something happened in here. That's what today's about. That's what I'm about here. My uncle changed my life, and it was her local doctor, GP, that changed her life. He knew her from a child, and he reminded her of something. She said as a 14-year-old girl. As a 14-year-old girl, she said this: whatever barriers come my way, one day I'll be Olympic champion. And he went back into that, and she developed some pathways in her brain when she was visualising so much, and it connected back in, and she was off. She was off with a team, and those 5 mental pillars she used all the way through for 1 full year. And at the end of it, she had that amazing victory. I'm going to show you that victory, the first gold medal. And she's catching up the favourite. She should never have won a gold. It was never on the cards. But something happened where she caught her, and she just overtook her to win. And then she won the second one. She's become a legend now. She's all over the world with a foundation doing amazing work. But this is Dame Kelly Holmes. And what, for me, it's quite an emotional thing, because she was self-harming, suicide watch. I don't know where she'd be right now if her GP hadn't had that moment to stop the drugs and give us some mental advice. So this is Dame Kelly Holmes.
It's just the time for the women's 800 metres final. Kelly Holmes is bidding for a medal. Which one will it be?
A real chance in this Olympic final for Kelly Holmes.
I think she's strong enough to double up. She's a strong athlete, and there's no reason why she can't get a medal in 2 events.
These last few moments really are nerve-wracking, but she's been in this position so many times now.
All those dreams, and then something goes wrong, and I just thought everything's going too good, and it's going to go away from me again.
Kelly Holmes attacking on the outside. What is Matilda got this? Has Andy Allen got anything? What about Miles Clark? Kelly Holmes fighting for the gold medal with her training partner Maria Matilda. Kelly Holmes bringing it home for Britain. Can she get there? Come on, Kelly! One more good. Come on, Kelly Holmes. It's gold. Kelly's won the gold for Great Britain. What a performance. You won it, Kelly. You won it. Yes, you won.
Yeah.
Olympic champion, you've been waiting a lot of years for this. You've finally done it, girl.
You can see her face, can't you? It's almost disbelief. And that magic moment of just winning it was incredible. And that was those 5 pillars that we went through. Incredible. Competition time. I've got 2 unique stress balls, proper stress balls. They're basketballs, of course, with my name on them. And I'm going to throw this out to the first person to tell me who that is. I will give you clues. Right, this guy was born in America. He was fired from a newspaper for not being creative enough. A few years later, he was sat on the side of a valley in Los Angeles, visualizing this thing, seeing it for 3 months, creating this incredible thing where... Walt Disney. Yes, congratulations, round of applause. Yes, fantastic. What I love about him is that he visualized the whole thing in his head. Like I'm creating my life almost by visualizing so much, and things are changing dramatically. He did the same thing. He had it all created, then he went to have it designed, and then he went to the banks. First bank, he needed hundreds of millions, didn't he? They said no. A few months later, he managed to get a second bank. They said no. He went to 32 banks. All of them said no, but he had a dream like me with the decorating. He wouldn't give up. And the 33rd said yes, and the rest is history. This guy, I love this guy. He was 65. That's what gives me hope, because I'm 62. He was 65, and he retired. He said, I can't live on this pension check. And he got this recipe he had. And he got in his car, and he drove around restaurants. Who, you said, anyone say Kentucky Fried Chicken before? No, it's you. This one here. Well done. Yes, brilliant. Yes, round of applause. Fantastic. Very quick as well. And what he did is he didn't just produce the coating and put it in a supermarket as a packet to buy. He wouldn't do that. He said, no, I'm going to go and give it them free of charge, and then they pay me 1 cent per piece of chicken because they'll sell more. And the first one kicked him out. I said, get out. And he got in his car in his white suit, and he slept in his car every night for a year before he got his first yes. He went to 1,009 restaurants, 1,009 before the first one said yes, and the rest is history. It's fantastic because he never gave up. There's so much just beyond where we're going to give up That's where the golden road is, but most people give up before they just cross over. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep going because I want to see it. I want to experience as much as I can before I die. That's my kind of dream. Lovely. So the benefits of mental resilience, number one, you're like a lion. A lion walks about. There's an aura about a lion. It doesn't attack animals. It just walks about and they back off. And it's the same thing when you've got mental resilience within yourself, those 5 pillars, you have an authority. You just know you can do it. When I was 18 years of age, I had to introduce Professor Brown to 4 students sat around a table. I remember it clearly. My palms were sweating, my heart was thumping. There was a noise in my head. I went to the toilet to calm down. It wouldn't work. I sat down. The 4 faces looked at me, and there's no happy ending. I bottled it. I couldn't do it. He had to introduce himself. And yet, with a couple of techniques, mental imagery and inner voice, I've learned to speak to hundreds and not get nervous. So it can be done. There's all sorts of things we can do. But it gives me great pleasure to be able to stand up and not be nervous. It's an amazing thing. I was that last boy. The insecurities, it was horrible. All of those things. Number 2, you bounce back really quick. That example of me, 6 months, I was down for 4 days versus 1 hour. You learn to bounce back quick. Can you do anything about it? No. Then move on. Don't go there, because you make yourself ill. Number 3, that confidence level is nice and high. It's a beautiful thing where you just don't need to talk about it, no need to show off. It's just there. Just keep going. Then your consistent delivery. You're not at one day, then down, then up, and don't know who's going to turn up in the office or at work. You're consistent. You have a good week, a good month, a good year. You have your weekends, your holidays, your breaks, your sleep. Everything works. That's what's key. And health, of course. And Johnny Wilkinson, the great guy who won us the World Cup in 2003, he did 2 things. One is that pose of his. What he was doing, you see him just look, he was visualising the ball going through the post over and over and over. And there's evidence to show that when you do that, the muscles fire off in the same sequence as if you're physically doing an action, except much, much, much smaller. But they do fire off. That's why all golfers, all tennis players do the visualisation a lot. The F1 drivers do an amount of that as well. And of course, he performs under pressure. So you perform under pressure when you've got mental resilience. Can you show you a couple of clips before I finish here? One is a half-time show at a basketball match, and there's little trampolines, and these guys do tricks. So the first clip is how it should be done. The second clip is someone, young kid, who's a bit nervous, like I was introducing those 4 students to the professor, and he gets it very wrong. Because of this. It was only this inner voice that was negative. So number 1, how it should be done. Number 2, how it shouldn't be done. So the gorilla dunks it. Oh! Real footage. Watch his chin, he catches his chin going in. Solid steel. A classic example of negative inner voice. What he was so nervous, he thought, I better put some extra into it, make sure I get there. Then put too much in, couldn't stop himself going through. Luckily, he straightened his legs and got out quick enough, but it was fantastic. Just before I do my final little wrap-up, a couple of things. One is the book. I've written a book, which is amazing. I never thought this would ever happen. English was my worst subject in school, by miles. And I've written a book, and it's got 18 5-star reviews now on Amazon, which is amazing. And it's got 18 chapters. Everything I've talked about today, there's a lot more detail and it goes further into that. It's normally $14.98 with postage and packing. Today it's £10 and a sign. I'll personally sign each one. So that's there for that. Secondly, if you haven't got cash with you, there's a form to fill in here on the back. And there's also a form here. Who here gets my blog? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the blog. This is just a blog list. On the back there, I send out every Saturday a blog. And it's got some tips and techniques on mental resilience and some action thoughts and so on at the end. And that's all it is, and it's just out every Saturday. So if you want to receive that, just fill your details at the back there, and that'd be brilliant. When I was that 5-year-old boy, I remember the humiliation of the giggles and the sniggers. It was horrible. When I was 12, being left on that wall, I can't even think of the words to describe the horror of that. And it's, you know, if people laugh at me now, I've still got some sort of anchor to that, which is a sad thing. But it's nearly there. I've nearly got it sorted out. When I was 16, I got 3 O-levels. I failed miserably at school because of a lot of this. And I remember my mum going to the head teacher with me, dragging me in, demanding that I go into the 6th form. And he says, no chance, get him out, get him out. So they kicked us out. It was not pleasant. At 18, I couldn't introduce Professor Brown to 4 students. That was the most scared I've ever been, I guess. At 25, I joined a professional basketball team in Sunderland. Within 6 weeks, I had a slipped disc. My career was over. I managed to play for 2 years, and we won the big championship, but it was devastating. I dreamt of my dream of playing professional sport all my life. I got there within 6 weeks, it was almost over. That was tough to take. Because I believe it's how you respond to everything that hits you on a daily basis across your life that counts. At 33, I went through my first divorce. At 44, I went through my second divorce. My first hip replacement, full left side. I went personally bankrupt, and I was made redundant all in 1 year. That was a tough year. At 55, went through my second hip replacement on my right-hand side, went through my second redundancy. At 56, I set up JD Mind Coach. Things were looking great. I thought, yes, until I realised I had to decorate a lot. But it was a tough time. It was a very tough time, because it is how you respond to things that counts. And at 57, I had my first heart operation. At 58, I had my second and third heart operation. The third one worked, thank goodness. I'm fit well now. But it was tough to take. At 59, I met Julie. Beautiful, beautiful lady, love of my life. Last year, I married Julie. And it's fantastic because I'm not giving up. Now, you know what? There are more tough times ahead in the next 18 years. But I'm ready for them. I'm ready to take them on. Because it's not how you start in life that counts, but it's how you finish. That's really important. And when I was that 12-year-old boy, I remember trying to spin that basketball. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Because it was so hard. But I think there's 2 things that's really important in success. Number 1 is working hard on the right stuff. And number 2 is never giving up. So I didn't give up. I went back to it. And week after week, month after month, this little boy, this skinny runt, kept going, kept going. He thought, if you can just do it once. Maybe have one friend, just one friend. And he kept going. And eventually he got there. Yeah. And he got there, and now he can do it. And what it did, it actually did help me. I did start to get more popular in the school, and it helped my confidence. But I use this as an analogy. And what it is that anything in my business now I think is impossible. I said, no, hang on, I thought this was impossible. It took me 2 years, but I did it. So I've gone for stuff now, like Dubai, to any person would think, why are you doing that? That's crazy. But I'm going out for a second time. I've got a training session with UKTI over in Abu Dhabi. And it's just starting a little bit, but it's getting exciting. But I also love working individually with people. Because like I said before, it's not how you start in life that counts. It's how you finish. Thanks very much.